Hi everyone, I'm Socks, with my skill points all ready to be allocated, and welcome to the first chapter of the story I am writing about our favorite channel mascot, Paint Bucket. I'm kidding, of course, but if you don't know, Lydia has a pretty extensive lore and even an ARG written about her. Some quick clarifications before we get into it. I am, by no means, a professional writer, so please don't go into this expecting that level of quality, though I certainly tried my best. The chapters will be written from a rotating perspective of Lydia and her two siblings, and each chapter will have a prologue in the form of a short flashback. I have provided a written copy of this chapter in the description below. Other than that, I do hope you like my story, as I've worked very hard on it, and without further ado, enjoy the video. Okay, Chapter 1. Lydia. I remember this one time, back when I was a child, I used to watch my mom crochet these big blankets. She'd spend hours making these intricate spiraling patterns with random colors. I was watching her hands move back and forth, just mesmerized by it. I said to her, "Mama, why aren't you looking at it?" "Hmm? The blanket, Mama. How do you know what you're making if you don't look at it?" I was sitting across from her on the floor of the living room, crisscross in my dark blue star-patterned pajamas, playing with whatever stuffed toy I chose to favor that week. I could never stick with the same one for long. When my mom asked why I didn't have a favorite, I'd always tell her that I didn't want the other ones to feel lonely. Well, I suppose I just prefer to let my hands work without thinking about it. But how do you do something without thinking about it? Oh, Lydia, she trailed off. I I suppose it's just what my brain likes to do when I'm not using it. I had no idea what she meant at the time. I was only 4 years old, after all. But you are always using your brain, Mama. You can't turn it off. I know, dear. I suppose sometimes I wish I could. She paused for a moment. Now, dear, it's time for bed. You'll be quite the detective when you're older. I just know it. What's a detective, Mama? It's someone who uses their brain. It's always funny how, when you grow up, you get these little memories of things adults said to you that you didn't understand at the time. Back then, I didn't detect my mother's exhaustion, that tiny hint in her affect that showed how tired she was, how empty her soul had become. I wish I was able to ask her what was on her mind at the time, and be there for her when she was clearly on her own. My father was always cold to her, even back then. He always looked like he was weighed down by this invisible bag of bricks hung around his neck. I'd like to think my mother married him for more than just his fortune, but if you looked at them, you'd have no idea they were married. My mom was a beautiful, creative, patient woman, but my dad, he's like if you were to take a calculator and gave it eyes and a mouth. He was always going somewhere. Talking to someone on the phone, who knows. I stopped caring what he was up to sometime between the third and fifth missed birthday. I've heard that kids often take after one parent more than the other, but I feel as if I don't align with either of them. I'm not creative and definitely not patient like my mother, but I at least have a personality, unlike my father. Calling him my father seems disingenuous nowadays. It really feels like he's more of a handler than my father. I've seen the way he looks at me. Never meets my eyes, always looking like he's keeping track of where I am in the room, but not much else. I don't know what I want from him. I never really had a fully present father, so I'm not sure if I'd even want one. Sitting up from my bed, I push my hand up to my hair and brush it out of my face. The red imprints on my arms mirror the wrinkles in my jeans. I was too lazy to undress for bed last night. It takes a full minute, maybe two, to fully get out of bed. My legs make creaking and popping sounds as I stand up and stretch. Each limb has to be told what to do to actually work. I must have slept pretty well. That's a rarity for me these days. It's not like I have a lot going on or much to distract me, but my mind can never really seem to fully turn off. If I am able to sleep, it's out of pure exhaustion. I like to keep my room clean as possible. My mom would say that if your room is clean, it makes you a happier person because there's less trash to get in your way. I think she was just trying to get me to clean my room. I've turned it into a weekly routine. Every Tuesday, I sweep the floor, clean my bed sheets, throw out the trash, and wipe down the mirror. I always leave that one for last, though. I don't really like looking at my reflection. I don't think I'm ugly or anything. It's just, I suppose after having so little human contact for this long, it feels strange to actually see a human face, even if it's my own. But still, I try to keep up appearances. If I let my room get dirty and if I neglect keeping myself pretty and clean, it will feel like I've lost. This invisible battle against some dark force that wants me to lie in bed all day and only eat what I can make in the microwave. I wish I had more art, though. The bare, dark blue walls are very blunt, but at the same time, I'm not really sure what I'd put up. I don't make art myself, and all the other art in the house are portraits of family members that I've either never met or don't care about. I suppose I could always print something. Talking to each other came to be too much of a chore, especially after Michael moved out. Now, whenever I leave my room and head to the kitchen, I can usually find a note left behind by some family member or company worker telling me what's going on outside the house. I can always tell who wrote the letter before even seeing what's on it. My father always used this thick, off-white notebook paper and wrote with incredibly small cursive. Michael used the same stuff, but he could never hide his shaky hands in his writing. Company messages were on boring, printed paper that smelled like an old factory. Today's note stood out way more than the rest, though. That bright pink sticky note with reflective silver pen could only be from one person: my sister. Everyone else's notes were predictable. My father's were always about when and for how long he'd be out of the house on some business trip. Michael's only showed up on birthdays and holidays, and most of the company messages were just about how some underpaid worker restocked the fridge. Sarah's, however, were total wildcards. Sometimes her messages were logistical. Hey, I took the last of the milk, or bird feeders looked empty, filled 'em for you. She never wrote in full sentences. It always annoyed me. Today's note was more interesting, however. Hey, Lyd. Coming by again after work. I'll check in. Work? That's new. Why did she feel the need to get a job? My father certainly didn't make her do it like he did for Michael. To be fair, it's not like he had to for my brother. That boy was registered in the company's employment records on his 16th birthday. There's a joke somewhere about a kid making wine before he could drink it. My sister, on the other hand, has her entire life paid for. Don't get me wrong, she could use the work ethic, but she never struck me as someone who wanted to work. I hope she doesn't work for the company. That wouldn't be fair. It was very Sarah-like to mention that she would be doing something, but not when that thing was happening. I feel my chest tighten a little bit when I think about Sarah working for my father. I saw what it did to Michael. From this bright, artistic boy to a static numbers machine hidden below his scraggly white hair. That can't happen to Sarah. It just can't. One look at her would tell you all you need to know. Tight jeans and a cutesy graphic tee, those incredibly loud magenta sunglasses she refused to take off indoors, and her signature golden leather jacket. I'm not sure if it's made of real gold. Probably not, but I'm sure she'd tell you otherwise. I pull one of the stools out from under the kitchen island and sit down with some milk and cereal, pouring myself a bowl. Cooking real food sounds like a lot of effort right now, and I really can't be bothered to deal with all that. I think to myself, the usual shift for most of the company's employees ends around 6 p.m., right? Or was it 7? I realize that I'm not entirely sure. The clock above the sink tells me it's 5:27 right now, so either way, I shouldn't have to wait long. The house alarm breaks the focus I was pouring into my book. I stand up from my desk chair and slip a withered sticky note to save my page. Smiling to myself, I stretch as I slide the sleeves of a sweater over my arms. It's been a while since I've seen my sister. After she graduated high school, most of her days have been apparently spent at the mall with her current boyfriend of the month. Now that she's apparently employed somewhere, her breakup stories will turn into work stories. I'm not so sure I really want that. Either way, I'm looking forward to talking to her. She's the only other family member I really talk to other than my mom. I suppose us girls have to stick together, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't secretly wish that Michael would reach out more often. I run my hand across the dusty railing as I make my way down the hall to the foyer. It's the end of the week, so the cleaners should be around soon to tidy the place up. Not that they really need to, seeing as there's rarely more than 4 people at the manor at once. I tilt my head back and forth and look down the stairs. The gold of her jacket stands out awkwardly against the bland wooden walls of the entrance room. I continue towards her as she shakes off an umbrella and types some code into the alarm on the wall to finally get it to shut up. "Lyd, I'm home," she calls out, her voice echoing deafeningly around the room. I speak to her as I turn the corner. "Geez, Sarah, calm down. You might scare away the birds again. Lydia, I need to talk to you." "Seriously, kid, I'd say you'd scare the neighbors away if we had any." I joked. I always referred to her as if she was much younger than she was, despite only being 2 years younger than me. "Lydia," she stumbled over her words. Her normally smug demeanor painted over with a picture of barely disguised anguish. I quickly change my tone as I realize something is wrong. "Hey, what's up? Is everything all right?" "No, Lyd." She brought her eyes up to mine. "It's Mom. She's dead."